Good morning and welcome to this Wednesday, June 7, 2023, informal session of the Savannah-Chatham County Public Board of Education. We remind all that as a courtesy, this meeting is being streamed live and can be viewed by visiting www.sccpss.com. I would ask Ms. Olivia Hale Miller, our board secretary, if this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the requirements of the law, and she assures me it has. Today's meeting will serve as our second public hearing on the proposed FY24 budget. I now call Ms. Paige Cooley.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Before I start the presentation, I would like to address one thing that is in the front page of the newspaper this morning. School board could raise millage rate. I did want to emphasize that under no proposal have we requested any millage rate. We would like to remain the same millage rate that we have been last year and following into next school year of 17.631. We are not asking for a millage rate increase, and I just wanted to clarify that because that was in the front page of the paper today.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
To go back through our budget process that has been updated to the latest data for June 7th, 2023. We are looking at the general fund revenue, tax digest, as I stated, at 17.631, which is no mill increase. A projected revenue increase from our tax digest due to increases in assessed values of $31.1 million. We have also got a decrease in our TAV-T and an increase in our interest income of $575,000. So our total projected local revenue is $373.9 million. Local adjustment to our budget for this next fiscal year is $31.1 million. Our state revenue is from our QBE funds is $178.6 million. That's an increase of $12.6 million from fiscal year 23. It is based on our number of students in our school system. And our estimated general fund state grants total $4.8 million, which is an increase of $847,000. Our state highlights, as you can see on the slide, the $12.5 million increase in the QBE. We got a little bit more money in nurses, military counselors, and a local charter supplement. Our general fund state grants, as stated on the previous slide, $847,000 increase. Our total state revenue projection is $183.9 million. This is an increase of $13.4 million from this fiscal year. We do not anticipate an increase from the federal, from our federal revenue at this time, so it will remain flat at $3.2 million. On the slide presented, our total general fund revenue by source totals $561 million. As you can see that our local revenue makes up 67% of that, the state 33%. These are our general fund expenditure adjustments. Our step increase, $4 million. Our cost of living increase, $16.4 million. Our medical rate increase is $14.2 million. I do want to let you know that I did, from when we first started out, we were anticipating it costing us $18.1 million for that increase in our health insurance, which has already gone up as of January 1st, 2023 for our classified employees. But we did get word that they were going to increase the the certificated employees were already increased. They were going to increase the classified employees to that full amount as of January 1st, 2024. We did get word from the state that it was passed into law by our state of Congress to only increase the classified health insurance to $250 per month effective January 1st, 2024. They will then increase it by another $250 a month as of January 1st, 2025, and the remaining, to bring it up to what the classified increase is, will be $135 a month on January 1st, 2026. This has not been voted in by the Georgia Department of Community Health, but I did contact Mr. Terry Conrad, the comptroller for the Georgia Department of Health, and he said they will not be voting on this incremental increase until the August meeting. But since it has been passed into law by our state of Congress, he said that the board vote is really just a formality. So that is really a good thing for us, because that did save us $3.8 million this year. So I did want to point that out. The other items on here have not really changed. I think everyone can kind of read along the lines and look at those. Our next slide also shows these are part of our program improvements, and we have taken off a few of the items that have been in there on the past, which one of the first things that we did to reduce it so we would not be so we would not have to take money from fund balance. We did eliminate the raise the bar growth. We took away the capital projects deferred building maintenance. We did reduce the EIP teachers. We had 47 on there originally, and we have reduced that to 32. We changed our special ed compliance professional learning coordinator. There was one position there, and we have instead put 2 positions as a specialized instruction program manager to support academics. We also, since the last meeting that we had, our public meeting, we have added 4 teachers to ESOL. We have added 2 parapros to ESOL, and we've added 2 interpreters to ESOL. So our total expenditure adjustment from this year to next school year is an increase of $43.9 million. And on this slide, you can see the summary of these changes. In order to balance this budget, we will have to pull out $3.2 million from our fund balance. And these numbers, the debt service, we've seen these before. The capital projects, we did do some interfund transfers in that, so that number is $91.8 million now. Our special revenue funds have all been updated. The total of those are $175.8 million. Our internal service funds have remained unchanged to what we discussed in our prior budget public hearings. And as you know, our strategic goal is number 4, our fiscal responsibility and resource stewardship, and these are our budget objectives. This is also our budget calendar to finish out the year. And I did want to also comment, someone had asked once, what percentage of our general fund positions are funded by the state. As far as what state is, it's 62.1%. They actually fund about 3,070.88 positions. Now, of course, that is not the full amount, because we pay more than the state amount for teachers, as well as they don't fund Social Security and that sort of thing, so that is not a fully funded person. But we have a total of, for next school year, we have a total of 4,943.03. So that means there are 1,872.15 positions that are not funded by the state. So they fund about 62%. So, and that's not completely fully funded, but that just shows you that that is why, thank goodness for our local tax base to cover those differences. And this completes my presentation.
Thank you very much.
This is a hearing, right?
Yes, it is. So I just want to make this comment to our people that are watching. This is a public hearing. This is open to the public. And I'm disappointed that I don't see any of the public here today. So will you show the slide again of the dates for the other hearings?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The big ones I'd like to point out on this budget calendar is on June 12th, we will have 2 millage rate public hearings. Hearing number 1 will be held on the 14th, and that one is at it's on the 14th. June 14th at 11 a.m. is the board public hearing number 1. And then the public hearing number 2 is at 6 p.m. on that same day, June 14th. And then on June 21st, 6 p.m., that is possibly going to be changed to 5 p.m. though.
Okay.
So.
Since we don't have the public here today, if any. We don't have speakers. Well, we don't have speakers here today. I'm sorry.
Do we have to close this meeting and
Yes.
reinvent it at the workshop? Actually close the
We can.
hearing?
We can.
Okay,
So,
then I move that. Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I move that we close the, excuse me.
Give us a minute as we confer. There's no workshop. Oh, no, we can't. Yes. So we may have some questions from board members. So any questions?
I just don't want Mr. Jackson to stop us and say,
Yeah, he will.
Okay. All right. I'd like to go back to the deferred building maintenance and find out what happened there.
We pulled out,
Yes, for the deferred building maintenance, we took a separate approach. We currently have about $1.5 million in the current budget that we contribute from the general fund annually to deferred maintenance or building maintenance. What we did internally, we moved a little over $3 million within the Division of Operations. We basically moved it from transportation to deferred building maintenance. So that's going to take that contribution up to about 4.5, a little over $4.5 million. If you recall last month, if not last month, the month before, we also transferred about $3 million from the general fund from savings to deferred building maintenance. So that puts that amount around about $7.5 million. On the agenda item today, we're transferring some additional funds to deferred building maintenance also. So instead of putting it in the budget as an annual cost, we found ways to fund it from savings, hopefully for the next couple of years. Before this fiscal year is over, possibly next month, I may come back to the board with another transfer from savings where we can put some additional funds into deferred building maintenance and get the amount up around $10 million that we can use over the next 2 or 3 years for deferred maintenance. So it did not go away. We just took another avenue to fund it.
Okay, so the program is as robust as it was. We're moving ahead.
A lot
taking
more
care of our
robust, yes, ma'am.
buildings.
Yeah, we're making up from years of not funding deferred maintenance,
Okay,
all within 1 year.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Kachmar.
So the other way to look at that is we really need to have the full budget number in there, not scrimp and save every year from positions that aren't filled to kind of make up the deficit. So my specific, I'm glad we were able to find the funds this year. I don't like that budgeting approach. let's see where we save over the year and then throw it all at either food service or maintenance, which is what we've done over the last several years. There's got to be a more sustainable approach first. Second, when we I understand looking at positions that haven't been filled or contracts that haven't been fully spent, we haven't spent money on, or where we save money and moving those funds over. That happens all the time. I get that. But in doing what you just described, for example, finding some money in transportation, did we lessen transportation's overall budget? Because part of our issue there is maybe we need to pay people more so we can get some recruit and retain CDL drivers and recruit and retain mechanics, et cetera. So are we hurting ourselves in one area to help ourselves in another area? And I guess what I really want to know is, where did we transfer savings from so there's no real impact to previous policy and budget decisions versus where are we cutting other programs to push money into maintenance?
As far as the transportation piece, we took a look at the number of positions, vacant drivers and monitors. We were looking at the number of vacant positions that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years, and we pretty much took half of those positions temporarily out of transportation to move into deferred maintenance. So that amount in deferred maintenance, which is going to be $4.5 million annually, that's going to stay there. That's not going away. So that annual contribution went up from $1.5 million to a little over $4 million. So that's going to stay there. That's not going away. For the drivers and monitors, we're going to treat them just like we do teachers. Once we start filling those positions, if we need teachers in the schools because of additional students, we hire teachers. If we need drivers on the buses because we can start hiring drivers, then we're going to add drivers. And we're going to use staff and reserve to start filling those positions. But as soon as we can start hiring drivers, which I hope is soon, then we have a mechanism in place where we can start hiring drivers and replenishing those positions that we took out of transportation. But we did reduce the transportation budget to make this happen.
And if I may.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
It was a collaborative effort. Looked at where our staffing levels are, what those needs are, and still built in a buffer. And we traditionally have 5-hour drivers, 6-hour drivers, but what you'll see us do also is moving drivers to 8-hour drivers, where we're having double backs and triple backs. We want to just start bringing them on as 8-hour drivers and make sure that that funding remained there. So we looked at what those opportunities are for some reductions and then how we can do some upgrades in that department, especially transportation. What you'll also see is an initiative that we're bringing forward relative to the mechanics in that area, where we're going to be requiring and working with them to be ASC certified. So we want to be able to see some reduction in how we're having to outsource for work on our buses. Also, you have to remember that we were successful with our electric buses grant. So we made sure that those dollars were there for infrastructure. So we didn't want to make any sacrifices, but where we could manage some reductions, certainly we were willing to do that, worked very closely with finance to see how we could reduce that budget, but not sacrificing the overall quality and service of pupil transportation. And as it relates to the deferred maintenance and how we manage those dollars, we know what those amounts are that came before you as a part of the facilities condition assessment back in February. So we're in agreement as to we can reduce some of those positions and transfer and reallocate those dollars over to the deferred maintenance budget. Question?
The fact that you're happy with it makes it okay, I guess. They took the money from you, so if you're fine with it, then that's
And like I said,
She took it from her left hand and put it in her right hand.
and I was waiting to see if you were going to be the one to realize that. That's what happened. Yes, it did. So thank you for that. And yes, we did. We recognized where the need was. We recognized where the dollars were. And just like I said, we've made some reallocations. And still, fortunately, what you did not say is we're still working within that dollar amount. You didn't see an increase, but all you saw us do was sit down at the table and make some reallocations. So we recognize, how important instruction, academic, but we also have to recognize how important those buildings and those buses and the human capital is. So yes, that's exactly what we did.
I think saying that we did away with the deferred I think that was the
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
the key thing that
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
raised-
certainly, and we're looking forward to being able to start programming out what some of those needs are and getting that work done as soon as possible.
Yes, Ms. Grabowski.
Just a quick question. Ms. Cooley, thank you for that information about the percentage of state funds. And if I understood you correctly, that you were saying 62% of our positions, that was the number that you were referencing, are funded through state dollars?
Yes, ma'am. A total 62.1%
Okay.
are funded, are on our state allotment for the general fund.
general fund.
And that is, they fund a total of 3,070.88. That's for fiscal year '24.
Because many of those positions also have additional dollars that are provided locally, which doesn't get captured in that number, do you know what that percentage is on a dollar amount?
I couldn't, no, ma'am, I don't. I
Okay.
could try to
just would
find
be
that out.
curious if it's a lower percentage on a dollar amount because of the additional local funds that we add to those positions.
Well, 7.65% for every one of those employees is not covered for Social Security because our district does provide Social Security for its employees, which not all of the
Not all districts do,
surrounding
right.
areas do.
Yeah. My
Because
mom
I
was a
have
teacher
checked,
and
that
she
is
was
a
one of those
major
that did.
benefit to working for the school district here.
Yeah.
And also not only the Social Security, if you think about, for those of you that are familiar with the teacher salary scale, actually there are two parts. There's a state portion and a local supplement portion. We pick up all of that local
Right.
supplement portion
Right.
as well
Right.
as those state-funded teachers per se.
Right.
We still pay their local supplement portion of their salary. So it's kind of a tricky number to get to
Okay.
answer your question.
Okay.
Because you have to look at the Social Security portion and that local supplement portion. That could range anywhere between, I'm assuming, $1,000 to maybe $5,000, depending upon the teacher and their certification level. So
Yeah,
it
well,
could
and
add up pretty quick.
I understand it's not a simple question, but I think it's also
Good.
a more accurate reflection of how much
Right.
our local budget
Pays,
really does
indeed.
support our teachers and our staff. So, thank you.
Indeed, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm instructed to do a last call for any speakers. Anything else from the board? All right.
Make a motion to close our public hearing.
Yes, well, yes. And actually, I need someone to make a motion that we close the public, yes. Yes, I'm sorry, because we have to go into something else. So, yeah, it's in second, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Now, I would need a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters, and legal matters, et cetera, and real estate.
I move that we go into
Yes.
executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters, real estate, legal matters.
Security.
And security. Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.